Welcome back to the Brewery tutorial. In the last few sections, we have created a new solution, created tags in an asset structure using data templates, created device connections to a ControlLogix PLC, and associated tags with PLC addressing quickly using Excel. Now we'll quickly build our brewery display, making use of those data templates. Remember, we have 2 brew lines, and within those brew lines, we have 4 tanks. Within each tank, we have an outlet pump, the supply valves, and sensor data. Let's go ahead and dive in and create our first line display in the display list page. To create a new display, we'll click on the New Item button. We will set the display name as Brewline 1, and we'll keep the type as portable. That means the display will automatically be opened by rich clients in Windows desktops or run inside a browser in any operating system. We'll use a simple canvas template for this. Now that we have a new display, let's go ahead and start dropping symbols into the screen. We'll start with a tank. Let's go into the symbol library and search for that symbol. Once you've selected, just drop the tank onto the screen. Now that we have the symbol on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and break this symbol. And the reason I want to do that here is to animate this individual piece of the symbol. Select the level indicator for that tank and double-click it to configure it. We'll start typing Brewline 1, and with a period, the next portion of the assets tree will begin to show like brew kettle and level. Now we have a tank with the level indication showing directly from the tag. Now we'll go ahead and drop a text box on the screen, and with this text box, we'll size it the way we want, and we'll call this temp for temperature. For the linked value, we'll go Brewline 1, brew kettle, and temperature. And for formatting, let's set this at 1 decimal place. Now, back on the temperature label, let's go ahead and change the fill and choose one of the colors associated with the theme we are using. And let's change the label itself to a little bit more bold. And now we have a nicer looking temperature readout. Well, now that we have this, let's select both and hit Ctrl-D and duplicate this. And Ctrl-D again, and let's add yet another one. For the second one, instead of temperature, we're going to select pH. Let's put the label at pH, and for the indicator itself, I'm going to select pH by going through the asset tree. Now, for the last tag, let's set the label for the level. And again, let's go ahead and remove temperature and add level to the tag. Now what I like to do is make sure that these items are aligned properly. And the easiest way to do that is to select all of them and look at the toolbar options. Here, we can align left and space them evenly. So now we have our tank, and we have 3 indicators. Now, let's add another symbol. Let's add the outlet pump to the screen. Search for one and add it to the screen, and place it where we want it to be. Once again, break this symbol so we can animate just part of it. Double-click the piece you want, and go to Dynamics. We'll animate fill color, and we'll select the tag for outlet pump. Once again, let's go Brewline 1, brew kettle, outlet pump, and we'll use the status of this pump to animate it. With the status of 0, we'll go ahead and leave this as a gray color, and with 1, we'll set it to a nice green color. I'm using colors from our themes, just to make it easier for myself. I'm also going to delete the second limit. Now that we have our pump animated, all we need is a valve. Let's go to Valves, and let's pick valve number 34 here. Once again, break the symbol and select the part you want. Then, double-click and go to Dynamics. We are going to change the fill color again. For the valve being on, we'll set the green color. Hit OK, and now we're done. I'll select and delete the number 2, and, for 0, let's go ahead and select a color similar to the valve body, which in this case would be pretty close to white. For this tag, let's select brew line 1, brew kettle, supply valve, and we'll use the status once again. Now that we've got our first tank built with indicators, pumps, and valves, let's go ahead and run this as a test. The first thing I want to do is save our display. In Display's layout, we'll make sure that this display and the startup layout has header, footer, and now our new page, which is Brewline 1. Now that we have our Brewline 1 as part of the startup layout, we can use the top action menu to run the application. You can see that our display now shows our valve, tank, pump, and the indicators. What we can do here is click Tools and then Property Watch to have a look at anything within our solution. In the Property Watch, if I select Tag, Brewline 1, and Brew Kettle, I could now set the temperature to, let's say, 88.7. I can set the level to 50 and the pH to 7.4. Additionally, I could go to the outlet pump, change the status to 1, which means that pump is turned on, and for the supply valve status, I could do the same thing. Now we know that our tags are wired up correctly and that all of our indicators are showing what we expected. Now that we've verified our display, let's go back to Configure mode. Inside Configure mode, we can use the breadcrumbs in the top right corner to quickly get back to our display. Now, let's make a few tweaks. I'll group these elements to make it easier to move things around. I'll move the objects a little closer together and also change the background color in the display. Hit Save, and what you'll see is that the screen updates immediately with the changes we just did. Let's use the power of symbols and tag templates to speed up our development. I have created an example here of what we'll do, which is transform each element into a symbol so we can use this basic structure to display all the parts of our brewery line. As you can see here, the goal is to be able to configure each tank more quickly. Let's see how you can do that. Let's first select the text box next to the temperature indicator. Now we want to change the tag name from tag syntax to symbol syntax. To do that, we'll use hash. We'll put tank name, and now, in parenthesis, we'll select the entire brew kettle, which is the part that will change for each of our tanks. The tag itself, in this case temperature, won't change, so that is why it is not included in the parentheses. We're going to do this for each animation object, and it's real simple. I'm going to select the new syntax that I have, copy it, and I'll quickly replace all of the other animations. Note that I use the black selection tool to select an object inside a group. Now we have changed all the animations into symbol syntax. Let's turn this group of objects into a tank symbol. Select all the objects, right-click, and select Make New Symbol with the same name as my data template, Tank. If I remove my current symbol, I can drop a tank on the screen with all the elements we defined, and by double-clicking it, we can see and change which tank is linked here. By using symbols, I can drop an entire brewery line onto the screen with only a couple of clicks. If I look at the right part of the screen, I'll be able to access all of my tags, including the 4 tanks. If I drag and drop them into the screen, automatically it'll be linked to the correct tank. We'll see that the first one is grist mill. Let's move this to the beginning. I'll move brew kettle to be the last one in this line. The next will be mash tun, and the final one will be lauter tun. Let's select all of these tanks, space them horizontally, and align them at the bottom. One thing we're missing here is a label for each one of these tanks. Let's edit this symbol. Right-click, Edit Symbol Tank, and we'll add a label to this tank. Now I've got a label. Let's animate the text output of this label. We'll animate that with symbol syntax, tank name brewline 1, brew kettle, and we'll make the tag the description of the object itself. Note that this label asks for a specific syntax around the tag. Now we can go ahead and save the symbol to the symbol library, and then save our display. If we look at our runtime, you'll see because this symbol is global, it has put that same label on each one of the objects with their particular description. Let's go back to configure mode and make some quick adjustments. Let's say we knew that grist mill didn't exactly have temperature and pH, but only had level. So let's go ahead and break this symbol, and now we can change its components. In this case, I'll remove pH and temperature and just leave level. I'll then group everything and adjust the sizing. Now let's save our display again and make a few changes with Property Watch. So far, we only added values to brew kettle. So let's go ahead to the grist mill, and we know that only the level can be changed. We'll change it to 75. On the mash tun, we can do the same thing. Let's make a couple changes. Temperature, we'll say it's 1:1. We'll say pH is probably around 7.2. And the level again, using percentages, we'll say it's 40%. The same thing can be done for the lauter tun. Level 65%. pH, probably about 7.4 or something similar to that. And the temperature, let's set that at 99 degrees. Finally, I can see here all values have been updated and everything is connected correctly.